Learn English through story. The Secret Life. Martin Taylor lived what many would call an enviable life. He was successful, well liked, and admired by his colleagues at the law firm where he had spent the last 15 years climbing the corporate ladder. His wife, Emily, was beautiful and intelligent, and their 2 children were the epitome of charm and good behavior. They lived in a spacious home in an affluent neighborhood, and Martin's life seemed to embody the ideal of suburban bliss. But beneath the surface, Martin harbored a secret, one he had carefully concealed from everyone, even Emily. To the outside world, he was a picture of stability, but behind the closed doors of his mind, a very different man resided. This secret life had begun years ago, as a fleeting escape from the pressures of work and family, but over time, it had grown into something that consumed him. Martin's secret life took place online. Late at night, when Emily and the children were fast asleep, Martin would slip downstairs to his study, where he would immerse himself in a world that allowed him to shed the skin of the responsible husband, father, and lawyer. In chat rooms and forums, under a pseudonym, Martin adopted a new identity, one free from the constraints of his real life. He engaged in conversations with strangers, flirted with women, and indulged in fantasies that would horrify those who knew him best. For Martin, this digital world was a place where he could be anyone, do anything, and escape the monotony of his daily routine. At first, it had been harmless, a way to unwind after a long day at the office, a brief diversion from the stress of his demanding career. But soon, the allure of this hidden life began to seep into his waking hours. He found himself thinking about it during meetings, checking his phone for messages during dinner, and spending more and more time in front of the computer late into the night. It wasn't just the thrill of anonymity that drew him in, it was the power. In this world, he was in control. He could create any narrative he wanted, craft any persona, and interact with others without the burden of consequences. There were no expectations, no judgments, no responsibilities. It was liberating in a way that Martin had never experienced before. But as the months turned into years, Martin's secret life began to take a toll. He became more withdrawn at home, less engaged with his family. Emily noticed the change, but whenever she brought it up, Martin brushed her off, claiming work was more stressful than usual. The distance between them grew, and their once vibrant relationship began to fade into routine. Then, one evening, everything changed. Martin was sitting at his desk, the glow of the computer screen illuminating his face as he exchanged messages with a woman he had been chatting with for months. Her name was Vanessa, or at least, that was what she called herself online. Vanessa was different from the others. She was witty, seductive, and seemed to understand Martin in a way that no one else did. Their conversations had grown increasingly intimate, and Martin found himself confiding in her about things he had never shared with anyone, not even Emily. On this particular night, Vanessa had suggested they meet in person. The idea thrilled and terrified Martin in equal measure. He had never taken his secret life beyond the confines of the digital world. But the temptation was strong. Vanessa lived in a nearby city, and it wouldn't be difficult to arrange a discreet meeting. Martin knew it was a dangerous line to cross, but the allure of finally stepping into the fantasy he had created was almost too much to resist. Just as he was about to respond to Vanessa's message, a soft knock on the door startled him. He quickly minimized the chat window and turned to see Emily standing in the doorway, her arms crossed, a look of concern on her face. "Martin, it's almost midnight. she said softly. "What are you doing?" Martin's heart raced. He had been caught off guard, and for a moment, panic gripped him. "Just finishing up some work," he lied, his voice strained. "I'll be up soon." Emily didn't move. She stood there, watching him, her eyes filled with an emotion that Martin couldn't quite place. "You've been spending a lot of late nights in here," she said after a long pause. "I feel like you're slipping away from us." Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. For a moment, Martin was speechless. He had been so consumed by his secret life that he hadn't realized just how far he had drifted from his family. The guilt that had been building inside him for months now threatened to overwhelm him. "I'm sorry, Emily," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't realize a broken bar. I didn't mean to make you feel that way." Emily took a step forward, her eyes searching his face. "What's going on, Martin? You're not yourself lately. I feel like you're hiding something from me." Martin's stomach churned. The truth was there, bubbling just beneath the surface, but he couldn't bring himself to say it. How could he? How could he tell the woman he loved, the mother of his children, that he had been living a secret life, flirting with strangers, indulging in fantasies that had no place in their marriage? "I'm just stressed," he said finally, the lie heavy on his tongue. "Work has been tough lately, and I guess I've been escaping into the computer to take my mind off things. But I'll stop. I'll be better." Emily nodded slowly, though her expression told him she wasn't entirely convinced. "I miss you," she said quietly, before turning and leaving the room. Martin sat there for a long time after she left, staring at the screen. Vanessa's message still blinked at him, waiting for a response. But the thrill that had gripped him earlier was gone. All he felt now was shame. He had become so wrapped up in his secret life that he had let it erode the real one. His wife, his children, his career, everything he had worked so hard to build was now at risk because of a digital world that offered nothing but emptiness in return. The next morning, Martin made a decision. He deleted all the accounts he had created for his secret life via the chat rooms, the forums, the online personas. He cut off contact with Vanessa, knowing full well that he had come dangerously close to throwing away everything for a fleeting fantasy. It wasn't easy. The pull of that world was strong, and part of him still craved the freedom it offered. But he knew he couldn't continue down that path. He had to face the reality he had been avoiding for so long. Over the weeks that followed, Martin made a concerted effort to reconnect with his family. He spent more time with Emily and the kids, rediscovering the joy that had once filled their home. He threw himself into his work at the law firm, finding satisfaction in the tangible accomplishments of his career rather than the hollow thrills of his online life. And slowly, the distance between him and Emily began to close. One evening, as they sat together on the porch watching the sunset, Emily took Martin's hand in hers. "You seem more like yourself lately," she said, smiling softly. "I'm glad." Martin squeezed her hand, feeling a warmth in his chest that he hadn't felt in a long time. "I'm glad too," he said. But even as he spoke the words, he knew that the temptation of his secret life would never fully disappear. It would always be there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for a moment of weakness. The difference now was that Martin understood the price of indulging that temptation. He had come dangerously close to losing everything he held dear, and that knowledge would serve as a constant reminder of the fragility of the life he had built. The moral of the story became clear to Martin. Secrets have a way of consuming you, of slowly unraveling the things you cherish most. What starts as an innocent escape can quickly spiral into something that takes control of your life, pulling you away from the people who matter and the values you hold dear. Martin had learned the hard way that the true fulfillment he sought could never be found in a world of fantasy. It was in the real connections he had with his family, in the responsibilities he had chosen, and in the love that had sustained him through all the challenges life had thrown his way. And so, Martin resolved to live with honesty, to confront his weaknesses rather than hide from them, and to cherish the life he had, imperfections and all, because in the end, that was the only life worth living. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.